Merryn loved the sea. She loved the sound of the waves calling to her through her window. She dreamt every night of the mysteries that lay beneath. Her father was a fisherman. Each day he went out to sea, and each night Merryn waited at the rocky cliff edge, holding up a candle to guide him safely home. The two of them were poor. Their roof was leaky, and they sometimes went hungry. But as long as they had each other, Merryn knew they would be okay. At night, her father sang her songs about his great adventures. He sang of giant leviathan serpents, haunted caves, and a lost city of gold beneath the sea. Merryn knew the stories weren't real, but she loved to listen to them. She drifted off to sleep, imagining the wonders of the world below. And her life continued that way, simply and happily, until one night, her father didn't return. Merryn held up her candle at the cliff's edge all through the night, staring out at the empty sea. She shivered in the cold wind as she watched for him all the next day. Her eyes welled with tears as night fell again and there was still no sign of her father. At last, she collapsed into sleep. In her dreams, she saw him, trapped deep beneath the sea, calling to her for help. She awoke with a jolt. A desperate and dangerous plan was already forming in her head. She took scraps of metal and wood her father had caught in his nets and pieced them together. She hammered and bolted, she measured and sawed. And before the sun had set, she had built a tiny, rickety submarine. With trembling hands, she squeezed inside and dove down beneath the waves to search for her father. The world beneath the waves shimmered with mystery. Glow-kelp bulbs lit up around her as she passed by. Merryn spotted some odd-looking old coins. Maybe her father would know where they were from. Eerie light flickered and danced on the sea floor like an underwater fire. A seahorse made of clockwork gears darted out of the way as Merryn approached. She wondered who could have built such a curious creature. Merryn approached a glowing scrap of metal and pulled it inside. It was claw-shaped and had a strong magnetic pull. She took out her tools and attached it to a firing mechanism on her steering column. father once told her about a mysterious, living energy called tine. Could that have been a tine wellspring? Merryn spotted shock nettles ahead of her. She had to be cautious, as the hostile creatures would attack her on sight. Sleeping guardian blocked Merryn's path. She knew it all too well from her father's stories, and she knew it must never be woken. According to her father, the Guardians had been built by ancient undersea explorers called the Fomori. Merryn always thought the Fomori were a myth. Now she wondered if her father's other stories might be true. The old statue reminded her of her father's lullabies about the brave and beautiful Merrows. Explored, she sketched the terrain on a sheet of cartography paper. Her father had taught her that those who make maps are never lost. A huge hermit crab watched Merryn from a rocky ledge. On his back, he carried a vast array of odd-looking treasures. Amidst the wreckage of an old Fomori vessel lay an undamaged propulsion device. Merryn bolted it onto the back of her submarine, eager to test out its effects on her lightweight craft. Merryn looked in awe all around her. She knew this place from her father's songs. These were the lost ruins of the Merrows. Merryn discovered two glowing lights amidst the scraps of an old Fomori machine. She attached them to the front of the submarine's hull, hoping they would help guide her on her journey. A blur of colour darted through the shadows. Was that a Merrow maiden swimming through the ruins? Merryn peered through the windows of the houses, wondering if a Merrow girl once lived there, and if her father had sung her lullabies about the world above. Merryn tried to speak to her, but the Merrow raced away. Swirl in the water tugged at Merryn's sob. Was this a Tyne vortex? Where might it lead? At last, the Merrow maiden stopped. Merryn called to her. "Please wait. I'm only trying to find my father." The Merrow looked at her for a long moment, then stirred the water with her hands, forming a ghostly image. It was the sunken ship graveyard known as Skeleton Reef. Could her father be trapped there? The Merrow pointed the way to go, and Merryn thanked her.